Hello and welcome as we go live to celebrate Polish Heritage Month in the UK and hear the inspiring story of Lady Sue Ryder. We are joined by Polaron's director, Eva Hussein, and the president of Polish Sioux, Iwona Golinska. As always, remember to subscribe to our Facebook page where we upload videos weekly about Polish topics. Over to you, Eva.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. But the first thing I need to tell you is that I'm in my car in the city of Melbourne and we're late. Now that I got that out of the way, welcome, Iwona. I think we met a couple of years ago, and I, in fact, had the greatest pleasure of visiting your museum in Warsaw. But what I'd like to do firstly is welcome you very warmly to our session. I'll be a little bit late, and ask you just a few questions about yourself, because you have such an interesting story. You live in London, you have a corporate job, and for some reason, the Polish Sue, as we call her, or Sue Ryder, has become a passion of yours. So tell us firstly a little bit more about yourself, please.
Hi, Eva. Nice to meet you. Thank you for inviting me today. Well, I'm sitting in London, as you can probably gathered. But we don't have such a nice weather, unfortunately, today. So it may be a little howling of the winds here, and do apologize in advance. And I put my screensaver in the back to also show the Polish Sioux, if you can read it.
Yeah. Yes, we can see it. Yes.
Yeah, about myself. So my name is Iwona Golinska. I actually was born in Poland. In a place called Lublin, which is an old Polish town built around 16th century by our king of Poland at that time. And we had a lovely time. The 15th century Poland, 16th century Poland was quite a big country. So actually it was a country of both Poland and Lithuania, and a union of both countries. But I was born much later, back in 60s. My roots are from there. And since 89, I'm actually living in London. As you mentioned, I work for various corporates. I worked in my career with Ericsson, with HP, with people like Alcatel, CSGI, so various corporate companies that we supplied, usually the telecommunications market, very high moving industries. My passion indeed is history, and because my family background is also rooted deeply in the history of Poland. My family comes from very patriotic roots. My grandfather was part of the Home Army in Lublin. In a way, he was an archives. He kept archives of the Home Army in our home, and his brother has passed away also fighting against the NKVD, which was the Russian forces who basically invaded Poland after the war. And my uncle was an actor who was also very patriotic person. He performed in Krakow, the south of Poland, in a theater. And again, he was on one occasion, because they were playing a patriotic play, which wasn't which was not allowed during communism. He was actually beaten up in Krakow, and he lost both kidneys due to that.
Okay.
So it was, a very turbulent historical events that shaped me and my family backgrounds. So yeah, I mean, now here I am in London, working for quite a few years, and now my latest invention is to work towards using my corporate background and also the skills that I have to do a little bit more good for people. We've started the Polish Sioux just to do that. And it's an organization that we've we hope to bring people together by doing our work with Polish Sue and you know, doing our work in the name of Sue Ryder, who was obviously a very charitable person, and you know, that's our heroine.
Yes, so tell us a little bit more about her, because she is someone that's truly fascinating. And as I said, I went to the museum in Warsaw, and having met you personally, I heard from you about who she was. But why is she such a special person?
Well, I think she was a very, very special person to me, somebody who I admired very deeply. So maybe I start from the beginning. Sue Ryder was born in 1923. And as a young girl, she was actually born into an aristocratic backgrounds family in Britain. She was born near Leeds, which pretty much is central or central part of Britain, in Suffolk, so County Suffolk, and she was brought up in a very in a family that was always helping people. So even though they had aristocratic roots, they were also very much, you know, down to earth. Her mother, Sue Ryder's mother, was a person who really would go out there to help poor family around where she lived. And Sue Ryder obviously picked up on this in her later life. During the war, which broke out when she was only about 15, 16, she was part of the Panic Corps, which is this special operation executives. And she basically was trained to help people like the Polish Cichociemni, the special forces. So she was training them to do all kind of sabotage on the occupied land in Europe. And since then, she got to like the Poles and the Polish nation very much. She basically was helping out a lot after the war as well, because these people who stayed in the concentration camps and people who were really, you know, lost after the war, they lost all their families, they were lonely. She was the catalyzer to bring them all together and to help them physically, you know, to recover from the trauma of the war. And she was a volunteer initially. And she was basically also, you know, doing medical training. So she was medically trained, you know, she was physically helping people. And then after the war, she decided that I'm going to open the charity. And she devoted her own home as the first charity home. So the home that she was living in was Cavendish. And she basically said, okay, this home I'm going to turn into the first home for these people who, and it was mainly Polish people who actually lived in that home initially. She was doing straight after the war in the first years of the 50s, she decided I'm going to actually help more people to get them out of jail, because the people who came to live in Britain with the Home Army and with the Anders Army, most of all Anders Army, because they were in the Home Army before, but you know, they could not go back to Poland. They were facing prosecutions from the Soviets. So she decided to keep them together somehow and help them to either get out of jails or in Poland and bring them here to Britain. Or she was trying to help out on the ground as well in Poland for these people to have some kind of shelters and, you know, the basic kind of living standards because they had nothing. There was, you know, Poland was under ruin pretty much at that time. So she started her sort of charity organization in Poland in the 50s. She couldn't register she couldn't register officially because it was communism, but she only registered her organization in the 50s, in the early 90s.
Okay.
So all this time between the 50s and the 90s, she was sort of semi-legal, really.
Right.
But it's amazing because she managed to build with her own hands almost several hospitals and several places for people. She altogether built or helped to build or contributed to about 30 homes across Poland during that time. So
Right.
she has done a lot of work, and sometimes she would just go by herself and build this home. So she would bring prefabricated elements from England all the way to Poland, and she was actually built from that this home. So she was often seen to be on the building site in the helmet by herself.
Oh, wow.
A tiny lady. So yeah, I mean, she had a great feel for Poland. She really did. Even I must show you, because this is the book I received recently from a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a biography of Sue Ryder.
Okay.
And she has put a Polish emblem, a national emblem, Polish Mother of God, who's our Queen of Poland. So she even was very much, into her set of mind to think Polish. She was also Catholic, and very much devout Catholic. She was always very much, into working closely with the Pope of Poland, the Pope of John Paul II. From Poland, sorry, and she visited several times the Pope. They had several audiences with her husband in Rome. So altogether, I mean, she has done quite significant things for Poland.
Yeah. She sounds like someone truly inspirational, Iwona. During her lifetime, though, I think her work has been recognized. Could you tell us a bit more about how she was recognized? Because I think she was given an official title of Baroness. Is that right?
Yes. Basically, because she was member of the British Parliament, she was in the House of Lords. She was given a title, and when this title was given, like in Britain, everybody needs to choose what title they want. For example, is it a title that will be belonging to a place, physical place? Usually when you become a lord of something, yeah. And she was told, so she was asked, what would you like to be? A lady of? What do you choose? And obviously, normally in England, everybody would say, I'd like to be a lord of a place in England. But she said, no, I would like to be a Baroness of Warsaw. And that was a little problematic because at that time, during communism, people would not go to the communist country and ask for, can we use Warsaw as, place to give this lordship to?
Right.
And so it had to go through diplomatic wires, to be let's say confirmed by the communist government in Poland that yes, we're allowing this lady to have the title. So it wasn't so easy, but by doing that, she wanted to draw attention, because Poland at that time was just before the martial law in 1981, and she wanted to draw attention to Warsaw and to the Polish causes, because even when she was in the parliament here in Britain, she was very strongly talking for Polish people and talking about the situation that we faced in Poland at that time, and under the martial law. And she was bringing to the attention of the world what was happening there. So she was given that title, as I said, by her own choice, and for the purpose of again bringing the Polish issue and Polish cause to the attention of the world. And I think that was absolutely marvelous. It was to a degree, when you think about this, a very selfless act. It wasn't all about her; it was about the cause. So yes, and for this, I think we have to applaud her for that. That was a very brave thing to do.
In those days, for sure. Iwona, I wanted to switch gears a little bit. As I said, I've met you a couple of times in person, and I can't travel at the moment. The minute I can, I'm in London for sure. Spring's coming. I know the weather's not the best right now, but I really love London and the Polish community there. But what I know of you, apart from your professional standing in the community, is that you have a son. I can't remember how old he is, but he's sort of edging teenage years, right? And I know that you pay particular attention to teaching him Polish. And I know for a fact that not all the kids love it, but I think your son does. Yeah, he's very connected to the Polish diaspora, to the Polish history. How do you bring up a child outside of Poland with the Polish spirit?
That's a good question. Well, yes, my son is actually 10 still, but he's coming to a teenage years very soon.
He might rebel still, right?
Well, he's still in the age that, you can influence the child to some degree before they become rebellious. So yeah, we are very lucky because in London, there are a lot of Poles here. We have, roughly under 1 million of Polish people who live in London. It's a huge community, and the immigrant community here is very well organized. So we have schools, which are Sunday schools and Saturday schools. And my son belongs to one of those schools, the Polish school that he goes and attends only for Saturdays classes. But it's going and following the program of normal schooling. It's just that he has to learn a lot more at home. So I became, over the last few months, a teacher, a full-time teacher as well, because during the lockdown, all schools were closed down. We still have the lockdown here in Britain. We only have, hopefully, we will have some release from, let's say, this strict lockdown in June, and we start doing normal things. So thank God the schools are now back. So we are lucky to have schools and our teachers. You don't have to do this anymore. But yes, I mean, there are a lot of things that we can do here in London to keep the culture. We over the last several years, 4 years, in fact, we have something that is called Polish Heritage Days. Yes. And this is an important event during which usually it happens in the whole of May. And during this time, we can have all Polish events to bring the Polish and British cultures together. And a lot of British people are very interested in what the Polish traditions are, what our feasts are. We celebrated yesterday 230 years of our Polish Constitution, for example. Yes. And it was amazing. I had myself several interviews with people who are from Polish community here, who have lived here for more than 40 or 50 years. And it was amazing how much there are, the interest there is in celebrating Polish events like the Constitution Day. So through this kind of events, the Polish Heritage Days, the celebrating of Polish feasts like the one yesterday, we all can get closer. There were some really fantastic things for kids organized, and there will be still going on this month. Like there is a run through like a countryside runs, and marathons. There will be some other activities. There's also and a competition with regards to some paintings and arts, you know, and these various things are organized by enthusiasts like myself and others who actually do it as part of the social sort of interest. And we do it so our children can remember their background, because, you know, once they go to English schools, they speak English with everyone. And it's very, very easy to forget Polish language and your Polish roots if you don't have this. And this is the role of parents, in fact. Yes. You know, if parents will not introduce this early enough, the children later in life may not be interested at all in having this. And in a way, you know, they have two cultures now instead of one, which is fantastic. And they can always use, you know, and explore the two cultures in the future.
Right.
So, you know, we really enjoyed doing this Polish Heritage Days. And this is something which you probably have to have in Australia one day, because
yes.
This is, by the way, here what I have is our emblem.
Your pin.
This is the Polish Heritage Day logo as well, but it's a logo of Polish Air Force, as you know, Polish Air Force.
Yes.
Who
Yes. So we do have a Polish festival here in November, Iwona, but it's not a whole month. You guys are very lucky to have the support of the consulate and the embassy, and here too we get that support, but the Polish diaspora is much smaller. There's about maybe 50,000 people born in Poland, and maybe about 200,000 of Polish heritage. So we don't have the numbers. I mean, Australia is not a very populous country. It's big in size, but there's only 26 million people. So it's much harder to get that energy that you're talking about. But whenever I do visit, I get drawn to the wonderful energy and dynamic you know, life that the Polish diaspora leads. There's lots of events, there's lots of things going on, not just in May, but throughout the year. And, you know, whether it's the business domain or, you know, there's lots of religious celebrations, there's arts, there's music. It's just really amazing because there are so many Polish people there. So I think it's a lot easier to get them off the ground and have good attendance as well. Iwona, tell me about Polish women. The reason I'm asking you about Polish women is, you know, Polish Sue wasn't really Polish. She's called Polish Sue. But what would you say are the strengths of or values of Polish women? Because, you know, we know that we're hardworking. We know that when the internet doesn't work, I get into the car and do the session on, you know, on the phone, whatever. We're very solution focused. But what is your view of Polish women? Why are we strong, and what is it about us that makes us special?
Well, you're right. We're very special. I think because we had to be resourceful. All our lives, Polish women had to be very resourceful. If you think about the history, you know, Poland was always in some kind of war, you know, involved, either being, you know, under the Russian occupation or the German occupation, and we had always something. And so during these times, bringing up your family, and, you know, it required an extra strength, and you have to be extra special to feed your family and do things around, you know. So I think that resourcefulness is the key word. Yes. You know, and also I think Polish ladies like to have to keep traditions. They totally traditional. I think in especially in Poland, they like to keep Polish traditions. You know, and we have very old traditions in Poland. We're lucky to have a country with deep roots, and we celebrate Easter by, you know, doing the Easter things that we do, you know, preparing our baskets and blessing foods. And, you know, there's a whole spectrum of foods you have to prepare for that feast. And this is very traditional Polish. And then we have śmigus, dingus, and all this. So we all have to be, you know, and women have very special role, because they are the homemakers, you know, they are the ones who drive it all. And you know, I think obviously, when women go to work, and I'm a good example of it, you have to have a helping hand as well from other ways if you can. But you know, and we had always somebody to help out when I had to work. But you know, it's always like in every culture when you have to work full time in your business and whatever, you have to somehow compromise, and that is also quite difficult to compromise. You know, what is important for you, and how you have to be flexible. So I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's always a marriage of reason and compromise, and you know, and I think we're quite good at balancing things, family
Yes,
and work.
juggling,
You know?
juggling maybe even. Yeah.
Hugging,
Ivana,
yeah.
we do have a few questions for you, but tell us firstly, where can we find out more about Polish Sue? You showed us a book. We know there's a museum. Is there a website? How do we find out more?
Yeah, I mean, Polish, we actually have Facebook pages. We on Facebook, you know, you can follow us on that. We also on Twitter, and we are building our website now, so it should be revealed hopefully soon and unveiled. But we're still doing that constructions. And we do events. So this last year, for example, or 2 years ago, it was, sorry, at May 2019, that was still before COVID, we've done this. And this was the, if you can see, this was the Lady Ryder event. This was a meeting dedicated to Sue Ryder. And we organized this in a Polish cultural center in London, POSC is called, in Hammersmith. And we were showing our exhibition called Sue Ryder, A Life Lived for Others, and screening of the film Lady Ryder of Warsaw by Piotr Zbroziński, which is the production of Polish television. So this event was held under the honorary patronage of Professor Arkady Żagocki, the ambassador of Republic of Poland in the United Kingdom. And it was part of the Polish Heritage Day. And, you know, we have done it together with Museum of Sue Ryder, which now is in the, unfortunately, I think the museum at the moment is non-functioning because of COVID. So
yeah,
you won't be able to go there.
well, hopefully,
currently.
hopefully things open up as well in Poland. I think, but you know, we can only hope. Stephanie, we have time for maybe one question. It's been a really fascinating talk, Iwona. Really amazing, inspirational. Not just Sue Ryder, but I think yourself as well. So I wanted to thank you for finding the time to talk to us. Stephanie, I'm going to hand over to you just for one question because that's all we have time for. And thank you for being a good sport and putting up with my, you know, speaking to you from the car, but never mind.
Thank you for showing me Melbourne. At least,
yes.
I can go there on a Zoom.
At least you can believe that I'm really here in Melbourne. Stephanie, over to you for one quick question.
Thanks so much, Eva. This has been like such an inspiring live session, especially hearing about Lady Sue Ryder. I was just wondering, Iwona, what made you want to start Polish Sue?
Well, I think that's, you know, this is my interest in Sue Ryder. My family knew her personally because my mother-in-law was a friend of hers. They knew each other. So, you know, we knew what she was doing. I learned a lot about her when I was living here in London. You know, she was really the inspiration for it. And also, you know, under the ideas that she had, you know, we want to bring the Polish and British communities together, you know, because she was British, she was working a lot for Britain, for Poland, you know, she's like a person to bridge the two communities, really. So we chose her to be a patron, you know, I think she deserved to be talked about a lot more, because everybody knows on the high street, everybody knows Sue Ryder shops, but nobody knows who Sue Ryder was, really. She's relatively little known in wider audience. So, you know, we want to talk more about what she was like and what she was doing.
And I think you're doing an amazing job. What we're going to do, Iwona, is put the links to your Facebook pages and all the other information you've given us today in the comments. So if anyone wants to reach out or learn more, you can. And I think truly you are quite an inspiration. So thank you for spending your morning, our evening with us. And so is Sue Ryder. Thank you so very much. And I hope to see you maybe even this summer in person. You never know. We can
please come by, Eva. You are very welcome as always. It will be lovely to see you, and I hope we can all travel and we can meet up.
We can't wait. Thank you so much, and thanks Stephanie for again for putting up with me and my stresses. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.